All right, everyone, thanks for joining us on VW Garage Talk Podcast, episode 16. I'm with my buddy Derek Henry here. Thanks for hanging out with us, Derek.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Live and in person.
Live and in person. Yeah, I appreciate you coming all the way down from Pensacola.
Yeah, it was great.
So basically, Derek, the first time I met you was at Bug Jam in November.
Yeah.
And you were promoting your show passionately. And
I try.
You did a great job doing that. I haven't heard about the show until you mentioned it, and we did a little research. We saw some of the past events, and wow, it was pretty cool. At that point, I think I talked to Angie, and we're like, you know what, we're gonna make this happen. It's a long trek, but you know what, it looked really cool. We want to check out some of the Gulf Coast shows. We want to check out other shows, and we've been doing that as we've been traveling. Shortly after meeting you at Bug Jam, Angie and I decided we're doing our cross-country tour. So we decided we start heading up Pensacola. We have a little issue. We're going really slow, and as you everyone knows, the pedal on the bus rusted off. We reached out to Bay Pride, Jay Gould, hey.
What's up, Jay?
he tagged Derek. Derek got us in touch with Wild Bill.
Yep.
And we went over to Wild Bill's. Unfortunately, he didn't have the pedal, whatever, but he got us in touch with Ed in Mississippi, Edwin.
And
he had it, and we were good. It was, the power of the VW community up there in the Pensacola area.
It's incredible, and it's been going on for a long time. You know, Wild Bill was the president of Rare Air for nearly 25 years, so a long time, and that network continues to grow and get bigger. And Pensacola VW happenings made it go to the next level.
Right.
So you just continue to do that for people. We want to try to get people on the road.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's tell everyone about your show. So,
okay.
We're going to go right into that.
Yeah, it's easy enough. Yeah, Bugs on the Bayou. We're essentially in Destin, Florida. We're just north of Destin. We're a camping show primarily. That's my focus. It has been from the very beginning. We have a beautiful property with a lot of trees, and we have power and water for everybody that camps, RV spots, all that kind of stuff. You and I just talked about that. Kind of the signature is the camping. We have free power and water for everybody, which is something you just don't see very much.
Free camping, guys.
Yeah.
Power and water.
Yeah, and so that's something I'm going to stick to. I don't ever want to go away from that. So that's important to me, that part of it.
And the shade, the trees.
Yeah.
Trees all over.
I've actually kind of nicknamed it the show Under the Oaks. Yes. I've been using that for the last couple years, and it seems to have stuck. I've actually been talking about wanting to do shirts that say the show Under the Oaks.
That would be cool.
But this year we're actually, I don't know if we talked about this, we're actually going to go to 3 days this year. So we're going to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
We'll have events all weekend long, something going on, and then the actual main show will be Sunday. To be honest, we've decided to do that because we want to follow the roadmap of what the big boys are doing. Like all the shows we attend over the years, like down here, a lot of the Panhandle guys have always come to the South to come to the big shows, and we wanted to make that roadmap and make ours kind of the same way. So Bugs on the Bayou on Facebook.
Yeah, so Friday. Now, did you have a certain plan that you were trying to do? Because I know last year you were trying to do like a movie in the park.
Yeah.
We had rain in the issue, but it really didn't affect. We all had a great time in the park. We had a little rain. I think one of the days we didn't. I think we thought it was going to like hail.
Oh yeah, it was supposed to be like damaging winds and hail, and it really didn't do that.
No.
So
we lucked out.
Yeah, that. Sometimes you just got to pull the trigger on that stuff, 100%. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And that morning, me and Steve sat in my bus and just said, "Are we going to cancel this? Are we going to cancel this?" And we didn't have any choice. So, but we also decided the 3 days is a good option because if it looks like Sunday is going to be a full rain out, we can just do the show portion Saturday.
Right.
Still give out the trophies and do our raffles and do all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So, but this year we have Friday night will be the drive-in movie.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll do the Lantern Walk, which we did last year, which was a hoot.
Yeah.
Our Lantern Walk's a lot different than other ones.
It's funny. He's having a great time with the speaker and everything.
Yeah, it's the Lantern Walks I know in the past that I've seen, and I've always been more somber.
Yeah.
And ours is like a New Orleans style with the music going and everybody having a wild time when they're doing the walk. So that was a big hit. I think the last time I checked, our video of that on Facebook had like 12,000 views, which was really cool for me. I had no idea that many people would respond to that. So we'll have that on Friday along with the movie. And then Saturday we're going to do a cruise to Destin Beach.
Okay.
And then the cruise back from that will end at the Third Planet Brewery, which we did last year as well. You guys came to that.
Yeah, that was a great, the food was great. You had good food trucks. They had It was like a hot dog truck with all kinds of wild different hot dogs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You had the barbecue truck.
It was. It was great.
A good layout. They had a band out there.
Really
It was
good.
Huge, like brewery, brewery setup.
Very nice place,
really nice.
for sure. But we're going to do that, and then the big announcement for this year was the fact that we got approved for a live band. So Saturday night, we're going to have a live band on the grounds from 7 to 9, and we're going to have food trucks Saturday night as well. They're on the grounds, so people will have the ability to do that. And then, of course, Sunday will be the actual show.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a great. You, Steve, and Holly. You guys really worked hard on that.
Yeah.
I saw you running around. I felt bad for you because with the storms, you felt bad of canceling the show. I talked with Ange too, and some of the other guys. Everyone was so friendly. I mean, we didn't even care. And unfortunately, it was to the point to where Ange and I had to leave. We didn't want to drive 8 hours back all the way home.
Oh yeah, I get that for sure.
But after being there and the experience with everyone so cool and welcoming, and it was just a fun venue. The shade, the trees, everyone meshing well. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna stay.
Yeah,
so we want to
I was
stay.
happy.
We
happy
took
about that.
We said, we'll drive 8 hours the next day, and it was worth it. I mean, we look forward to going next year. That was a great show. And meeting, we found out about so many other shows going out there too. Like you had people from Georgia, Alabama, New Orleans, Mississippi, Tennessee, Florida, obviously,
Texas too.
Yeah,
Texas too. Yeah, I think it was a total of 7 states.
Maryland.
Yeah,
it was Maryland.
Yeah, yep.
And that's that people from all over.
I think a lot of that really is me bugging people on social media.
Passionately.
Yeah, Jay Gould, everybody knows Jay from Bay Pride Forum. Jay put on his application, how did you hear about the show, is one of the questions, you know? And he said, because Derek won't shut the hell up about it. And I'm like, well, I guess it's working.
That was good.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, that's how we found out. And we started spreading the word too to some of the friends around here, trying to get more people to go up there. Like, guys, let's make the trip. It's a trip, but I mean, I think it's a trip I'm not going to miss.
You guys, your support, you guys coming, Gary Miller coming.
Yeah, it was,
a lot of people know Gary from his YouTube channel and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff is very helpful for us to grow, because if somebody comes and let's say they're not on social media a lot and they don't do something like you guys do with this, then people aren't going to say, oh, I have to go. Right. But if you guys are out here saying, hey, it was awesome, you should go, then that helps us grow a lot. William Dwyer from Nodo, I talked to him a few weeks ago, and he was saying, I'm planning on coming to your show. Well, if he comes and says it's great, I'm like, hey, the guy from Nodo said the show was cool, then you're on the right track, But the biggest thing is I just want people to have a good time, and the hospitality side of it. The Panhandle, we're really hospitable people up there. We're a little bit more like Alabama than Florida in a lot of ways. So we take a lot of pride in it. And I want to show people that we have a scene here too, in the Panhandle, similar to here, just not as much population.
Right. And that's good. If you can bring cars from all different states. I mean, the show did get big, and Sunday, the last day, we were thinking, I wonder if there's going to be more cars coming. Boom, everyone's rolling in Sunday.
I was very surprised.
Yeah, that was great.
We figured with the rain it was going to hurt quite a bit, the actual attendance, but one of the upsides is that, like you were talking about the network of people. Most of the guys that are presidents of a lot of those clubs in the area, I got a cell phone number where I can call them, and I called them and said, hey, if we cancel for tomorrow, will you guys still come? Crestview, Florida, and places that are an hour away. And they were all like, sure, we'll be there tomorrow. So that was very helpful. My goal was 200 cars for the show. I don't know if you know the history, but they used to do about 80 cars. They never really used social media per se. And so my goal was, let's try to do 100, 150. Well, we went from 80 to 160 the first year that we did it this time around. So I wanted to go to 200, then you go to the next number, and you've seen the venue, so you have a capacity to do a large number of cars. You could do 300 to 400 pretty easily, and you have the ability to do it if with there. So, I mean, that's always one of the goals, is to grow it, but also just to make sure people have a good time.
Right. What are your favorite shows? Like, what do you like to go to? I mean, so you're obviously Pensacola Panhandle area.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you prefer, like shows like that you go to?
Well, I think a lot of people feel this way, but I feel like Nodo is probably the best show. Like as far as Florida goes, it's the best show. The venue is incredible. It's much more of a laid back, more of a family, Volkswagen family atmosphere versus some of the more big commercialized shows which we've been to. So I think that's a big aspect of it. It's important. I really want to. I told him too that I would. Adam Simpson, he runs a show out of Alabama called Volksjam. He's up there, and Volksjam is a staple. They've been around, I don't know, it's got to be 20 to 25 years. There was a breakup in clubs, and you know how that happens. And Adam took it over a long time ago, And he's continued every year to just push through anything that happens that's bad or there's a problem. He pushes through it and keeps that show going.
Okay.
And it's at a beautiful venue, and they do 150 cars. It's in a valley state park, but I would call it the rally point for what we call Gulf Coast Dub family.
Okay.
So all basically from New Orleans to Panama City, all of us have always hung out, and when that show happens, we all migrate and go to that show. And there might be 50 of us all camping there from all different areas. Yeah. So Volksjam is one of our favorites because we see everybody. It might be that one time a year where you see, oh, hey, there's so-and-so. Yeah. I'll see him at Volksjam this year.
That's cool.
So we always try to promote his show and talk about how cool it is and how cool the vibe is.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Know? Yeah, it's just going up there, we're learning about all the shows too, and I know you come to Noto and some of the other shows around this area. It's just cool to learn, to meet other people, see other cars, and see what the culture is like in different areas.
Oh, and every year I'm like, oh, now I got to put that one on the list. Yeah. I haven't made two down here, especially because there is so many shows down here. Yeah. So every year you're like, oh, wait, I got to make time to go to that one this year and see what's going on with it. Right. And for me, it's a learning experience for my show. Like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? Like a VW getaway. Mm-hmm. I've gotten to know Robbie really well over the last couple of years. Number one, he's a really funny dude. He's hilarious. I just like hanging out with him because he's great to hang out with. Yeah. But I've watched his show over the last couple of years grow, and it's been awesome that him and myself and other guys that are starting to grow shows are working together to do so. Right. We're not like, oh, we're competition. Yeah. Instead, hey, we're allies. We want to eventually get to be bigger and better and have the community want to come to our show. So let's help each other to do that. Exactly. You know? I'm sponsoring VW Getaway this year. Nice. And he sponsored us last year. Yep. And then one is that Saskatchewan Valley. It's the new show in Tennessee. Yep. Long Restoration. They're doing their first one this year. Yeah. Wow, man! Their event page now has over 1,000 people interested or going. Nice. So it's really growing. That's the weekend of September 20th, and I'm sponsoring that one. Same thing. We're all kind of doing that together, which is awesome. Yeah. And Chris does great work too. Is it? Some of the stuff he does, like it's just we follow him too, and it's Riverbank. Riverbank Chris Customs, is great, man. Yeah. Riverbank Customs. Yeah, and I've met all those guys actually. Most of them I met at Volksjam. Nice. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why, because they're all kind of from that area up there, North Alabama, Tennessee. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Now I know you initially into motorcycles, but I know you got into Volkswagen somewhat recently, but you had a history with Volkswagens as a kid, right? Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. My dad is a diehard Toyota guy. He's always driven Toyotas. He bought his first one in 1976, and he bought my mom a Corolla. He's a mechanic by trade, so he figured out that with those cars he didn't have to work on them. He could just change the oil and drive them, you know? There you go. So he actually had a Toyota pickup truck. It was a 79 or 80. Okay. And it was similar to like you see these Choo-Choo Customs or something like that. They got the running boards and the wild paint and the step side bed and all that. We had one of those, and there's actually pictures of me riding my ball team, like Optimus ball team. We're riding in the back of it when I was a kid. And he traded it for a squareback. I want to say it was like a 73 or 74. Okay. It was bright yellow, and it had a black interior in it. And it was a nice car, but whenever he traded for it, I remember even as a kid going, why is my dad doing this? Like, he loves his Toyotas. Why is he getting this weird Volkswagen, you know? Yeah. So we had only owned it like a few weeks, and we got in it and drove from Indianapolis, Indiana, all the way to Disney down here. Okay. And me and my friends at part of the trip rode back on the engine compartment back there. You know, back then nobody wore seatbelts, you know what I mean. So, but I'll never. World back then. Yeah, it was. So, but I'll never forget that with that Volkswagen. But that's not how I got into them. But now looking back, it's a great story to tell. And all people have a story about Volkswagens. Like it's one of the best parts about Volkswagens. You know, when you get in it and you go to the mini mart, you know, to get a soda. Somebody will come up to you and, hey, my uncle had one of these, or I had one of these in high school, and so that stuff is one of the best parts about Volkswagens in itself. Yeah, like I said, it brings a lot. It seems to bring a lot of joy. It does, a lot. A little history. Bring back memories, good memories. Leads to going to different places. I've had people come to the door, like we're at a restaurant, we have a great camera. Someone's ringing the door, like, hey, I got my son's friend, in another state had some Volkswagen parts in us and stuff like that. Would you be interested? I got in touch with the guy, but we didn't jump on it. But leads are just out there for sure. Like the bus I got here, the 71. The Deluxe I just recently got on the way to your show. Oh yeah. On the way to Bugs in the Bayou. Thanks, Derek. You're welcome. But glad I can help. Yeah. So we got that, and we cleaned it out, do a little work to it.
leads. That's what's cool because you want to save these. This bus was sitting for 16 years, basically in the woods in a sense, and it probably would have sat there forever.
It would.
Luckily, it wasn't that bad, that far gone. Which 71 is worse off than this one. But so, what's in your garage now? What do you? I recently heard about your.
Yeah, I'm gonna hate to admit it. Oh man, I hope Jay Gould doesn't watch this.
Yeah, Jay, just don't listen to this.
Ignore this part, Jay. Actually, Jay messaged me about a month ago and said, "You sold your bay window, didn't you?" Because I guess he had this vibe that it might happen, and at that time I had not sold it yet.
Yeah.
And so just a couple of weeks ago, I finally decided that it was time. And I told you earlier, I'm not one to keep stuff if I don't use it.
Right.
I know a lot of guys that kind of hoard stuff. They might have 7.
I know who those are.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anybody like that. And I'm not that guy. Like, if I haven't used stuff, I sell it. And I'm just not going to keep it. I've always been that way with everything. So I don't know where that comes from because my dad was definitely not that way. But I only used the bay window, maybe drove it 4 or 5 times last year since I got my Vanagon. And the Vanagon is incredible machine. And so I just thought it was time. So I actually sold it to a local guy in Pensacola. And so it's staying local. And he's a diehard Volkswagen guy. He has a Type 3, he has a bug on bags, and he has some cool projects. And so he actually has ordered a bunch of metal already for my bay window. The week that he bought it, he started ordering metal. It needed the front floors done. They had been fiberglass patched years ago when I first got it.
Okay.
And so it went to a good home. And so now I have my Vanagon. You guys know about it. 89 Westy, full camper. It's totally ruined with the Subaru motor. So it does have a 2.5 Subaru in it. But,
that's good.
But it does have AC, so nice in Florida for that.
Yeah.
And then I actually just went to Alabama last week and bought an 04 VR6 6-speed GTI.
I saw that thing is...
I personally have always loved GTIs. I've always said, if I buy a water cooled, I'm going to buy a GTI.
Yeah.
And I've always loved MK4. That body style to me is just sharp.
Yeah.
I actually just mentioned to my wife today that in Europe, they call it a hot hatch.
Okay.
That's what they call little hatchback cars that are little zippy, hot,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I own a hot hatch now.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do a personal license plate that says hot hatch on my tag. But it's a really nice car. The V6 and the 6-speed and the V6, extremely peppy and fun.
Yeah.
It's like a little go-kart. It's like a little skate.
It's got those original reels too, the long spokes and everything on there. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it's a nice car, and I ordered coilovers for it and started ordering parts already, and so I'm going to have fun with it. And the GTI Plaid, that came in a lot of those cars. This is a black leather car.
Okay, nice.
The leather in it is impeccable.
Okay.
But the headliners in those, almost every one you see, the headliner's falling down. So I'm going to do GTI Plaid headliner, and I'll do a GTI Plaid shift boot, just to give it a little bit of flavor on the inside. But I got those two right now, and I'd be hard pressed to say I'll never have another Aircooled.
Yeah,
I probably will.
Yeah. I mean, you still got plenty of time.
Well, I might go back to my roots and end up with a sandrail again.
Yeah,
because that's really what got me started in it.
That was his first car. Yeah, first car Aircooled was.
Yeah, Aircooled was a sandrail. Yeah, I went from motorcycles to that. Yeah, and rode motorcycles my whole life and raced drag bikes, and I actually rode a drag bike to high school. That was my high school bike. Got it when I was 15, and so distracted drivers with the cell phones and all that stuff, man, every time I went and rode, I felt like I wasn't going to come home that day. Yeah. And that's why I got out of that stuff. I sold the last bike, and these sandrails are cool. It's kind of open air, like a motorcycle, and this and that. And I found one in Atlanta, Georgia, and I bought it out of an estate sale, essentially. The story was pretty cool. The guy was an old school Volkswagen guy, and he always wanted a sandrail, and he built this one all by himself, a shortened chassis, full metal handmade body. It had like motorcycle turn signals on the front off of an old Triumph. Oh, cool. It had Cadillac tail lights. Nice. And then when I got it, I put 20-inch wheels on it, so it was really a street rail. Nice. And had a nice stereo in it, and it was just a lot of fun. And we took it everywhere. We took it on hot days, cold days. We took it out all the time and had a blast with it. Yeah. And that's really what got me started. And then I bought a squareback after that.
Okay.
Yep. I had a 65 squareback.
And the funny thing, I remember you saying you never owned a Beetle, right?
I've never owned a Beetle,
Never
so
owned
that's
a
probably
Beetle.
on the
That's
list.
tough. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that'll be the next Aircooled.
It probably
right?
probably will be.
There's a
Yeah.
potential. Going back to the GTI though, the GTI, same thing. I wasn't a water cooled guy, but then I had an 85 Cabernet.
Okay.
My,
yeah.
My where I was with my parents at the time, the neighbor bought one brand new, and he took very good care of it. It was pristine. I had a 61 bus at the time. He saw me working at that.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, listen, I see you taking care of these Volkswagens," and we were very close to the family. And he says, "Listen, I'm going to give you this car. Just take care of it." He gave me the car.
Wow.
And yeah, so
That's cool,
I drove
huh?
that for a little bit, and it just wasn't me convertible. But then my dad drove. He drove for like 8 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
And he got a lot of use out of it. But at the time, we had some issues with it, engine problems, and then he wanted to trade it in for something. He got a what did he get? He got a Mazda. It was a Mazda Miata.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hardtop Mazda, but it folded down, and he loved that too. But I did get a GTI, Mark V GTI, and I loved that. That was my parts hauler. I hauled so many parts in that thing, and we went up to North Florida, picked up a transmission for another bus I had.
Okay.
Stuff. We went all over in that thing, but it's just so peppy. The turbo,
Turbo,
2-liter turbo. It was like a little truck. I hauled everything, our kayaks, lumber, roof racks in there. It's just a very practical vehicle.
Yeah, well, they are. Yeah, and my wife's always loved a hatchback.
Yeah.
So when I decided to get one of those, she's like, "Oh, that's cool. I'd like to have a hatchback."
Yeah.
Well, and you're seeing more and more of the cabriolets and those years.
Yeah.
In the scene itself, we're starting to see more and more of those because they're getting old now.
Right.
And anytime something gets old, it becomes part of the older scene, the antique scene. Or like, I don't know about you guys here, but I've been trying to kind of get more of the water-cooled guys involved with us and vice versa in order to keep the hobby alive all the way around. It's going to be even harder to keep the hobby alive if you don't get some of these young water-cooled guys into it.
Right.
And what happens, perfect example, we have a water-cooled guy, friend of ours, started hanging out probably about 8 months ago, and then he just bought a bay window bus because he was like riding out with all of us, and he's like, "Man, I got to get me one of these Aircooleds."
Yeah.
So he actually bought one of our friends' buses.
Nice.
And then he went and he bought a bus camper, which he'd never had before.
Okay.
So it turned out that everybody's happy. He gets the tin top. He ends up with a Westie.
Nice.
And so, you bring somebody into the fold that maybe wouldn't have before.
Right.
That weren't, quote unquote, welcomed.
Right.
In the scene before.
Right.
And I've noticed down here when I go to the big shows, you do see quite a bit of water cooled.
Yeah.
But up in the north, in the Panhandle where we're at, you really never did. Like those groups never mingled together.
Right.
So when I started Bugs in the Bayou back up, I tried really hard, to push, hey, let's get with these groups. So Gulf Coast Dubs, that's a group in Pensacola that was started a few years ago by a guy named Christopher Berry. And Christopher's a little bit of an older guy for being a water-cooled guy. So him and I hit it off and started talking. And he said, "Hey, share whatever you want on my page, vice versa." And then we started working together. Well, we had 30 water cools come to our show last year, which is a bunch. For normally there'd be 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And we had stuff like early water cooled from the 80s, 90s, all the way up to some brand new stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I take a lot of pride in trying to get those groups to hang out together.
Yeah, it was cool seeing the water cooled. You had a great display of water cooled up there. They kind of parked that. It was really cool. They had I don't know if it was a '92 or it was that Mark II Jetta with I think like a VR6 in it too. Really nice.
That was clean. That's the one that has Max Matry owns it.
Okay.
And that's what I tell everybody about that car is try to find a wire somewhere.
Yeah, you can't.
Every single wire is hidden in that car.
That's what how do you do that?
It's an incredible build.
Yeah,
incredible.
It's amazing. Then they also went to that brewery meet where I saw the water cooled there, and the guys were in. I think they had some airbag air or something. I think another I don't know if it's a club, but something on there.
Okay.
Something air, something. But it was pretty cool that they had. They were obviously on air ride. I think one was a
CC, yeah. They got a couple of guys on air ride in that group.
Yeah, they had some really nice stuff. So do you have projects right now?
No projects.
So no projects.
You have
no projects right now.
When I sold the bay window, I've kind of sworn off projects. The last one was the squareback. I drove it for 5 years.
Okay.
It was a 65, an early one, and we did a custom plaid top on the outside.
Yeah.
A friend of mine is a very talented painter, and he loves doing designs.
Yeah.
So I hit him up and said, I always wanted to do a roof, like a lowrider style roof, candy paint.
Yeah.
Because he's a candy paint specialist.
Oh, cool.
And I said, I want to do plaid. Dude, we had 50 hours in just the roof.
Wow.
We used about 16 or 17 rolls of tape.
No kidding.
Hours and hours and hours of taping and masking. You like tape for 2 hours and then spray for 5 minutes and then tape off the next section.
Yeah.
So it was 7 layers. It was white pearl base, and I'll show you some pictures of it.
Yeah.
And so we did all that stuff to it. So I drove the car like that for about 5 years and enjoyed it. Showed it a lot. Won a lot of best paints for the plaid and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I actually, it had a silly charging problem that I battled for the longest time, and it would never charge right. I always had to put a trickle charger on it, and I couldn't run it for more than 2 or 3 hours at night with the headlights on and run the battery down.
Really?
And
That's a strong draw.
It was, and I did it for years and just kept battling it. I'm like, I'm never going to figure this crap out. So one day I was driving it, and I was going. This was when I had a big shop over off Olive Road in Pensacola.
Okay.
And I was driving over there to put it away for the day, and I got so mad about the charging problem, I literally got my snips out and started cutting all the wires out. And I just cut every bit of wiring out and just was going to start over. Well, that never happened. I ended up transporting it back to my place, to my house, putting it in my little shed there. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get on this wiring. Well, one thing leads to another, and you get busy, and I kept looking at it. I'd sit out there and hang out and look at it, and like, all right, I'm going to order some stuff. And it wouldn't happen. So actually, it stayed local too. My friend Shannon Brooks, one of my good friends, he actually usually runs registration for Bugs on the Bayou, as a matter of fact. He bought the car, and he's now putting it back together.
Nice.
So,
good deal.
Yeah, I'm happy to know it's going to get put. But there's just not many early squares left.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so to find a nice straight early 65 like that is hard to find. But when I sold it, I kind of swore off the projects. I enjoy getting out and spending time with my Volkswagen friends.
Right.
Honestly, more than I like working on them.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing my basic maintenance. But like you with your projects out here, I look at that and it just terrifies me.
Especially the bus.
All I see is time and money.
Oh yeah.
And there was a time in my life where I loved that pressure and I love that. Oh, this project's I'm gonna see the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But now at this time in my life, I don't know. I turned 50 this year.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just, I don't know. I've been doing this since I was 16, working on stuff and building and doing projects. And now I'm like, I'm project out. I just want to hang out with my friends and I want to drive my car.
Right.
Like that's the two things I want to do.
Right.
And I want to travel in my van. Like, that's really the primary focus. And the more time I would spend on projects, the less time I get to travel in the van and hang out with people and do shows and run my events in Pensacola and all the other stuff I have passion about. You know?
Yeah, I understand that because Angie and I have been traveling more, and when you have all these projects, it starts taking away from that time to travel. I'll get another project, I'm going to sell this, and I'm like, well, something came up, you know, like going to your show, like this other bus comes. But I mean, I did a little bit to it. I've purchased some stuff for it, but it's, I'm going to sell it. My goal is I want to save them. I just want to get them out from the woods or whatever. And if I could get it to somebody else.
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, if I can make it, you know, if I can make a couple bucks on it, you know, it's cool. If not, if I just sell break even, that is what it is. But at least I saved it. And that's the goal.
No, I agree with you on that.
But like that 61, I wanted a bus, and at the time, the 61 was a camper, SO23. It was a little rare.
Definitely.
Just to find something in the price range, it was they're just so expensive, and I just the only way I could do it is get like a basket case, and you know, I got it for a decent price. I'm just gonna go from there. We did the 71 bus. We restored that, and that was a good feeling. I want to sell the 71 Westie at some point.
Ooh, you better watch out saying that out loud.
I know, though. Angie's not too happy about that, so she's, you know, we'll see if we sell that, we could fund the other one or something. But I think I'm gonna have to get that going and running before I can get rid of that. So we'll see. Or if we don't.
Well, and honestly, I think that's probably your best bet too, because I've made that mistake in the past where I'm like, well, I'm going to move on to this next one, and then you don't ever get that one all the way you want it, and you're like, wow, I should have kept the other one until I was all the way good.
Right.
The theory of you always want to have at least one Volkswagen to drive and enjoy.
Yes.
When you're working on the other ones.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. You want multiple Volkswagens. If one's broken, you can take one to the show or vice, you know, something.
Definitely.
That's a great way to think about it. I might back down the projects here a little bit after the 61. We'll see.
It's a hard thing to do, though.
It is.
And I understand it.
It is.
And I'm like you, though. Like, if there's something that has to be saved, or it's something that it's such a good deal that you just can't pass it up, then I probably would still entertain buying it, you know, or going to the next one. But like we were talking about, if I bought another Sandrail, or I eventually with a Bug, I really just want to buy one that's done.
Yeah, and that's understandable.
And then all I got to do is change the fluids and do my valves and, you know, the basics that the brakes need done, do those, and not have to do any quote-unquote restoration, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm getting old.
That's a good thing, though. Yeah, like I said, I don't necessarily get a good deal on some of these things. My problem is I just want to save them, and my friends are like, "What the hell are you getting? What are you getting that one for?" Like, I always look for the worst ones because it's like,
Yeah.
no one will buy that. I'll buy that, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I try to do a little work to make it a little more presentable. Any road trips? Any next things you want to do on your on the bus or? What do you think?
I'm really counting down to November.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, summertime is really busy with work and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We do have local events that we're doing. I mentioned to you about we're doing what's called Pensacola Hot BW Nights, and I'm doing it because the scene in Florida, as you know, it's so hot this summer that a lot of times from July to September, we would just kind of shut it down.
Yeah.
And we would do tech session, and people would sweat their asses off, and we'd do it.
Yeah.
But we really didn't do any cruises or events or whatnot. So I decided this year, let's do night events in July and August. So July, we're doing hot VW nights, and we're doing food trucks. We're doing a water slide.
Oh, cool.
We're doing one of those big water slides that even the adults can play
Oh,
on.
nice.
So I said, everybody bring their swimsuits.
Yeah, there you go.
And we're actually doing it at a buddy of mine's mechanic shop that has nice restrooms and a place to go in the AC if you needed to get out of the hot air. And then we're doing the same thing in August again, but we're actually doing a community water balloon fight. So we're doing a big giant trough of water balloons, and we're going to blow a whistle, and everybody runs in and gets the water balloons. So
that's cool.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep the momentum going.
Right.
Because it felt like a lot of years, like you have to start all over and get people excited again.
Right.
You know, when October came around, and Rare Air does their show in October, which is the other one in the Panhandle up there. They're at Five Flags Speedway every October. This is the 29th or 30th year of that show.
That's wild.
The show's been around a long time.
That's awesome.
Wild Bill Tucker's been running that show for 20 or 25 years of that. It used to be at the mall way back in the day, and it's been at Five Flags for a long time. They do around I think they did about 225, broke their record last year.
Wow.
So it's a good size show, very good time.
Yeah.
But then I'm focused on November. I leave the last weekend of October, and we're doing 2 weeks, and we're going to Indiana and back.
Nice.
In the Vanagon. We're going to do all 2-lane roads all the way there and back.
Okay.
We're camping all along the way at different spots. We're going to Bus Invasion 7, which is in southern Indiana.
Okay.
It's a Volkswagen show it's at the Bill Monroe Music Festival Campground.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Monroe, but old school country star from way back when, like 50s and 60s.
Okay.
But it's a festival grounds essentially. Yeah. Well, oddly enough, Bus Invasion had a scheduling conflict, so the same weekend is Indiana's largest Halloween festival on the same grounds the same weekend.
No kidding.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. So we have 3 days camping there. Cool. And then we're continuing up to Indianapolis, Indiana area, Anderson, Indiana, where I'm from.
Okay.
And we're actually camping at a campground. Pretty neat Volkswagen story. So one of my good friends I grew up with, I've known her since kindergarten.
Okay.
I've known her my whole life. We got in touch a few years ago. She said, "Oh, you're into Volkswagens." My husband, or my boyfriend that I met, we've been together for years, and his family are Volkswagen people, and they live in Florida. I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Small world, huh?
Yeah, so they have bay window campers. They have bay window Westies. Nice. And I said, oh, that's cool. And she said, well, where are you staying when you come up for your trip? And I said, oh, I'm staying at Mystic Campgrounds up in Pendleton. And she said, oh my gosh, that's one of my best friends. They're Volkswagen people. So I get on their website. They have a Volkswagen as their promotional vehicle.
Oh, no kidding.
So I'm like, man, this is all just coming together perfectly. So that's going to be awesome. That's my 50th birthday trip.
Nice.
A guy I went to high school with opened a restaurant and a bar right on Main Street, essentially like where we hang out as kids.
Yeah.
There was a soda fountain there, like when we were kids. And their restaurant is in the old soda fountain we grew up with. And we're going to throw a birthday party there. And a lot of my wife's friends from college are going to come and hang out. And so like a kind of a reunion trip. So I just got to work hard all summer and mow grass to get to that point.
Get that paid to do the camping trips.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to dress that Volkswagen show with the Halloween party? Are you going to dress the Volkswagen up at all?
Oh, I don't know. We have before. Yeah. We do it like a trunk or treat. Volkswagen Club does in Pensacola, and we dressed it up last year all skeleton theme and had a good time. I'm not usually. Cool. Holly doesn't dress up, but she always puts me up to dressing up. So I'm always in some kind of a costume because she puts me in one of some kind. So who knows what she'll put me in this year.
Yeah,
you know?
my buddy Jimmy put together a little show at a school, and it was basically a trunk or treat, and we had all the goodie bags, candy in the trunks, but I dressed up my orange beetle as a pumpkin. And pumpkin face on it. And
great idea.
On her face. But that was pretty cool. It was in much better shape then. So going out, talk about going to other shows in Indiana and stuff. Have you been to other shows out west, like California or anything? Or are you planning?
No, unfortunately not. I haven't really been out there, but actually we're planning my first out west show January of 2027. We couldn't do it this coming up January. We're going to do BBB. So, and I know you're familiar with that.
Nice.
I already talked to Dan Kilbride about going out. So he said, I'm pretty sure I'll be there.
Yeah.
So, 2027. We actually have a group of guys from Pensacola.
Okay.
I mentioned to some of them about going, and they're like, let's do it. So we're going to do 2 weeks. We're going to do 2-lane roads.
Good.
Take a whole 2 weeks and just ride out, go out.
Yeah.
It's actually, as of right now, it's 4 Vanagons.
Okay.
Plus me, so 5 Vanagons. And then my best friend, Jason Phillips, who's in Mobile, he's going to trailer with his RV and his trailer with. That way, if somebody breaks down, we have a trailer.
Oh, very cool.
We can pull his split off the trailer and throw one of us on it.
Very cool.
And so he's going to go out with us. So yeah, January of 2027 will be my first West Coast run. Yeah,
that'd be cool. Yeah, I've been talking to Jay Gould and the guys over there, and they're pumped about it too. We had some guys in Tampa. Everyone's like, yeah, I want to go, and so it might be a big caravan. But
61 might be done by
the 61 by 27. Yeah, I think it'll be done by 27. I was gonna I want to get it done this year, but I don't know if it's gonna be. It's not gonna be done this year, but I don't know. It might be running this year.
Yeah,
well, we'll see. I don't know what's gonna happen.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So whether we're there, it's just Busted by the Bridge is such a great show. I mean, they have the pre-show. I think they may even start showing up like on Monday.
Yeah,
and
they are now.
There's a pre-show there, and then you go into the show. I think they let us in on Thursday because we got there Wednesday, so we got let us in Thursday, and it's just a great time.
Well, I've been following along on that show for quite a few years, saying, "Man, this is on the bucket list." Like when I get a car that I think I could go all the way out there in, my bay window was lowered a lot, and it's typical of a bay window unless you have a really nice Westie. I'm like 3 or 4 hours about the furthest we ever took it.
Yeah.
And I knew I could never drive it all the way out there.
Yeah.
When I came up on my Vanagon, I'm like, this is it. Here's my opportunity. This will go anywhere I want to go.
Right.
And I don't have to trailer or do any of that. So, yeah, it's a good opportunity. But I've seen it grow from like where people would get there on Wednesday to get a good spot in line.
Yeah.
Where you got to get there on Monday now to get a spot in line. I'm like, guess we're going to be leaving them like the week before to get there on time.
Right. Yeah, because we got there Wednesday. We're like, holy moly, is there any room in the show? Everyone's like all in the big parking lot. It was cool though, but I mean, that's a show in itself. It is. Everyone's hanging out and chilling, and it's a good time. Then there's little restaurants around there, In-N-Out Burger and some other places. But just the sunsets out there, just amazing. The mountains and the water right there. It was really cool.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Any New England? I know you've been to New England, Vermont, and everything. Have you planned on taking the bus out there?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah. We love that area. We've been vacationing up there a couple different times, and I fell in love with the area. I mean, it's as rural as it gets. Like, I know when you get out west, I've not been out west a lot other than Vegas. We drove to Vegas a few years ago, and but it gets extremely rural, like where there's nothing. Vermont is one of the most rural places in the United States you can go. Like, there's parts where you drive for hours with no cell phone service and you don't see anything. Yeah. We went all the way to the very top to Burlington, Vermont, to the capital. Yeah. And from the southern to the top, there's nothing.
Yeah,
And then you drive up there, in Burlington, you think, oh, this is going to be a big city. No, not really. It's like the size of Pensacola.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a beautiful area. I would love to take the Vanagon and go up there for sure.
Yeah.
The only downside is my off season is essentially the winter. Like November to February. So if you go up there that time of the year, you're taking the chances of. I like the cold, but you're taking the chances of getting snowed in, or
and you're going to get snowed in up there.
You'll appreciate this, snowed in or situations. So we went a few years ago and we drove our regular car. Well, actually, my big jacked up truck. We drove it up, and we went for Thanksgiving. And we're like, well, Thanksgiving's perfect. It won't be real snowy yet. It might be a little cold, but nothing major. We went up there and got in the middle of a wide out blizzard, driving down the side of a mountain. Couldn't see but like 3 feet in front of the truck. Wow. Snow was accumulating as fast as I've ever seen it. And I grew up in Indiana, so I'm used to the snow. So it turned out to be the coldest Thanksgiving on record in the state of Maine. it was minus 35.
Wow.
Dude, it was absolutely brutal.
Wow.
But it turned out to be an adventure. So
Yeah.
car guys are going to like this. So I went out to get in the truck. And at that time I smoked cigarettes and stuff. So I went outside to smoke. And I turned the radio on in the truck. And the radio wouldn't come on. I'm like, what's up with this crap? You know, I can't believe this. You know, the radio won't come. I got this long trip and now I'm going to have no radio.
No tunes.
So I started doing some Googling about the cold. It was so cold that it froze the cones of my speakers on the inside of the truck.
Wow.
And they were frozen enough they couldn't move to put out sound.
Holy moly.
And dude, that blew me away. I was like, I can't believe that cold can do that. So literally get in, I turned the heater on, let it heat up for a few minutes, warmed up. That radio kicked right on, baby. Sound came right on.
Nice.
I'm like, minus 35 can freeze your speakers.
That's wild. I've been up, so I'm from Massachusetts.
Oh yeah.
But it's cold. So I was in Maine in 05 and it was a blizzard. I think it was like 17 below. It was 27 with the wind chill. But it was, my buddy Tyler and I went up there and we had a blowout tire. We were changing the tire in this car and it was 17 below. So we stayed at a hotel at the time and I thought I lost my toes, man.
Oh yeah.
Because I had a pair of, I think I had a pair of Vans on, a pair of socks, a pair of pants, a T-shirt, a sweater, and jacket on, and we're out there. We were prepared for it, but oh my God, it was a lot of snow, and like driving in Boston too. There was more snow in Boston, but it was colder in Massachusetts. But it was colder in Maine, more snow in Massachusetts. But man. But it's just so pretty up there.
It is. It's beautiful country, man. And there is some Volkswagen groups up there that I follow on Facebook and stuff, that are in that area. And they do put on a couple of shows in the summertime and stuff. Yeah. So, I would like to be able to make it up there for the summer to go to a show there. And just Portland, Maine is one of them, where one of the shows is. Yeah. And they do it there in town, kind of on the coast. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's one of the places that we really enjoyed when we went up. And just the coastal towns and the food and the people are really friendly. Yeah. They remind you of, they're like New Yorkers. They sound like they have a crazy accent, kind of. But they're very friendly, like people from the South. Yeah. So it's cool. It's a neat area.
That's cool. Yeah. It's funny. Portland's like almost like the big city. Like Augusta is the capital. Definitely. But Portland's more buildings and everything like that. Yep. Augusta, really haven't. I don't know. It doesn't seem the same. But Portland's pretty. Anywhere on the coast.
Oh
on
the
coast
is really nice.
It's really pretty. Yeah. The seafood's amazing and. Like I said, I know Angel and I were just looking at pictures yesterday. Yeah, yesterday on Vermont in Maine. Like, we gotta go. Like,
put that on the bucket list.
We'll see. Can the bus make it up there? I want to bring the bus back to Florida in by January, but I want to do a couple repairs to it, some welding stuff like that too. Okay. But whether we shoot up from there or what, or do we go right across? I don't know. We'll see. We're still talking.
Well, it's a lot of planning.
Yeah, it is. A lot of driving.
It is.
Luckily, the knock on wood.
Oh yeah,
is doing good.
I'll do it for you too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All the knocking on the wood. But we put on about 5,000, a little over 5,000, I think, on the engine and transmission rebuild now.
Oh yeah.
And we are doing good. So that's a plus.
Oh yeah, it's been doing great.
Just having some shifting issues. That's all.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I know what I wanted to talk about. Okay. The first annual Vanagon Roundup at NoDo. Did you see me post about that?
Yeah. So what do we got? What's new at the NoDo show that Bill's put in?
Wow, here? Man.
I see that someone put on another show here at the NoDo. Something happened for the first time.
Last year was talking with Wild Bill, and I was talking to Mike. I want to say his name is LeBant. He's the one that owns the Van Cafe.
Okay.
And Mike is a really cool guy. So him and I were chit-chatting. And Don Duro, who's a local staple in the Pensacola area, we all talked, and he said, man, I don't know why they don't have a Vanagon Roundup.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Split Bay.
We have a bunch of Vanagons in Pensacola, and we have a lot of friends in other areas with Vanagons, especially Don. He's a Vanagon guy, I guess you'd say. And I thought, man, I wonder if I could pull this off. Maybe I could do a Vanagon show. We have the Bay Window Rally.
Yep.
We have the Early Brigade Split Window Show. Yep. Now they have Dubs on the River, which is essentially all of them, all the cars. Mostly bugs this year. There was a ton of bugs at that.
Yeah. But you haven't owned before.
No, I haven't. So I guess I need to get one so I can attend that. But I thought, well, I mean, why don't we do a Vanagon show? So I actually, it's pretty funny, and I think William, I haven't talked to him. We've only been messaging. Yeah. But I sent him a message, and I sent him this long message like, pleading my case.
Yeah.
Hey, why would this stranger that barely knows me want to let me do a show at his event, you know? And he literally messaged me back and said, go for it, make it happen. And I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I've seen what you've done with your show in just 2 years. He's like, I know you're going to do great. Just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I already had the phone number for JoJo. If anybody knows JoJo, he's the guy that runs the parking lot at Giuseppe's, the pizza place. And I knew their parking lot was available for the morning before they start to do the event Saturday. They do the teeter-totters and stuff up there, I think at 3 o'clock. So I hit JoJo up and I said, hey, I want to do this Vanagon rally. And you're in the North parking lot, like you guys did Bully Brigade the first couple years. And I was like, what do you think about that? And he was like, sounds great. Like literally that's all it took. Like I was shocked that it was that easy. I was expecting to have to really pull at somebody's heartstrings or something.
Right.
But it was that easy. And they were like, yeah, go for it. So the Saturday of No-Do, they haven't announced their dates yet, but there will be an event page, and it's going to be the first annual Vanagon rally at No-Do.
Nice.
And we'll have the Vanagons get together there. I'm going to do a top 5 for trophies.
Okay.
And we'll be selling shirts. We'll probably give away some stickers and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And we don't have any idea what the attendance will be or how many people will come. And I have a little bit of trepidation about a lot of the Vanagon guys come and they set up their full camping setup, and they may not want to tear it down to come over to the get together.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
But then there's guys like me that I do that, but I go to all the events around town all weekend. And so I've gotten good at, okay, this is how I set up to sleep, and then I break it all down to go cruise.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we'll get guys that will be willing to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But my goal is 30 Vanagons the first year. I think that's could be feasible. But it's just another opportunity to, obviously, number one, promote for Bugs on the Bayou, because I'm going to do the first annual No-Do presented by Bugs on the Bayou. So when you go on the websites for No-Do, you're going to see us there, the Bugs on the Bayou guys. You're going to see the Vanagon Roundup there. Yeah. So it was a really good opportunity for me, you know. And I feel like, you know, my co-organizer of the show, the OG founder of Bugs on the Bayou, when him and I started this, you know, he's a really awesome guy, but he's a little bit more introverted, where I'm obviously extremely extroverted. And so for me, it came natural to be, hey, let's go beat the streets and talk to people. And I'm obviously going to make friends with people anyway, so let's make friends with the right people. Right. You know, so all that's really been a blessing, man. It's just going to be awesome to be able to do. And I get to be a part of what I think is the best show in Florida. Like, that was the part that got me the most. When they both said yes, I was like, I'm actually going to be part of No-Do. Yeah. Like, I'm not just attending now and being somebody that comes and brings a car and hangs out. I'm actually going to be a part of No-Do. Yeah. So very proud of that.
That's great. And Bill Dwyer's, he's a great guy, and you know, and I think you putting on the show, I think he's looking for that, because I think he wants a lot of things. You know, and there's a lot of things you can do, so you won't be bored. There's a split window show, baby window show, and now you're gonna have the Vanagon show. I mean, there's a pizza show. You can go to the beach, drive on the beach. I mean, there's something for everyone to do there. To how he does it. I mean, it's just amazing that you put on a show like that. You guys stepping up to the plate. I thank you all for doing the shows you do, because it's got to be so difficult. Like, I can imagine we put a couple on.
I think that you, looking from the outside, there is a concept of, oh, this can't be that hard. Yeah. And I talked about this on Joe Person's podcast, about people ask us, like, how much is the camping, or what's the shirt going to look like? But they never asked, how did you design the shirt, or how did you get free camping? Right. They don't ever ask that. Well, that's all the stuff that we have to do, all the work part of it. Yeah. And then in order to get, like, for me to get my wife on board to take care of working the booth, to sell shirts and do raffles, and then get her friends and my friends to do that stuff, and then to get my friends to work the booth at the front for registration. Like, just getting help alone is something that's hard. Right. Because everybody, and not to sound, you know, crass about it, but lots of people say, hey man, if you need help, let me know. And then you ask and they don't really want to help. They were just trying to be nice. So that's one of the hard parts, is just having enough help. That's actually that's the reason that Bugs on the Bayou actually went out the first time and wasn't around for a few years. Okay. Because it was a Navy-based club that a lot of guys get shipped out. And it essentially came down to Steve and one other guy trying to do this whole show. Okay. And he was like, I can't do it anymore. You know, I got kids in college, and I got this going on, and a full-time job, and this isn't going to work. So when I called him to say, hey, why don't we do this show? That's the first thing he said. It was, well, do you have help? And I'm like, yeah. All the homies are up for doing it, so we're good. That's awesome. And so I'm lucky to be able to do that, you know. And it is a lot of work, and But I would tell anybody, if you do a show, you're doing it because you want to do it, because you love it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
If you have ulterior motives, or you're doing it for profit, or you're doing it for whatever other reason,
yeah,
you're not really going to get the same, results, because you're not doing it for the right reasons. And that's not just doing a show, but that's anything. If you're doing things because you're motivated to do it for the right reasons, because out of virtue, then it's going to go a lot better than if you're doing it for selfish reasons.
Right. And I think that's right. Exactly. And I think, like I said, you doing it for you like the community, and I think that's why it's growing too. And I'm sure Steve is happy you jumped on board. He's wow,
Well, it's funny when I called him about it.
Yeah.
And I told a few people the story about it. So I called him and I said, "Hey, what if you were going to do Bugs on the Bayou again? Like, what would you do?" And like I was asking him all these questions and saying, "Well, I've been thinking about putting on a show, but I don't. What would you do if you were going to do it?"
Yeah.
And he finally said, "Derek, if you want to do Bugs on the Bayou, just say so. Like, quit beating around the bush." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I want to do it." And he's like, "All right, let's do it. I wouldn't do it with anybody but you."
That's cool.
And so, like, the next week we got together and started hammering down planning, and and here we are 2 years later. It's going well. This year will be 3 years this year, with my third year doing it.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's a blessing, man.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And like I said, the way you can do it with the not charging for camping, stuff like that, it's God bless you how you can do that.
Yeah.
I know you guys put a lot of work to make things happen.
And we're very lucky, man, with vendors. And this year, Steve had to kind of pull the reins in on me on the giveaways, because the raffles were. Well, you noticed how unique our raffles were.
Yeah, I like them.
We didn't have your typical raffles like that you see at shows. We had a lot of custom made items and stuff like that.
Art too.
Oh yeah,
really
and
cool.
I constantly, like, he kept saying, "How many raffle items do we have? We can't do more than 15." And he had kept like pulling the reins back. Because there is shows you go to where, like, we feel like there's too many. Like it takes 2 hours to do the raffles. And we didn't want to get to that point, but we wanted to make, instead of a whole bunch of raffles, we wanted to do 10 or 15 that are awesome. Like that everybody wants to try to get. And so he kept telling me, "Okay, well, how many are you at?" And finally, at the end, I had to like combine a couple things into one to make one item, because I was getting past that 15 number. So, but we've been lucky. A lot of people called me. We have Pensacola Shakes and Smoothies. Alan Hill, he's a Volkswagen guy. He came like a month before the show. He said, "Hey, I built this." It was the taillight lamp.
Oh yeah, that was
and made
cool.
out of a Volkswagen Bug taillight.
Yeah.
And he just hit me up and said, "Hey, I've always wanted to build one of these. I want to give this to you for the show, for a raffle." And I'm like, and I continually got calls like that all year from people. Just, I didn't ask; they just offered it up. Like,
That's
"Hey,
cool.
D, you're putting the show on. I got something for you to raffle."
That's
and
cool.
so that is so cool that you get that. You know? And then of course national sponsors and all that stuff. That's legwork and the emailing. And I have Danny Stevens. He's one of my good friends. He's actually one of the originators. So we talked about earlier Bus Evasion 7 in Indiana. He was the original guy that ran that years ago. And then he moved to Alabama, right there by us on the Panhandle. And turns out like he's into that. So I said, "Hey, you know anything about getting these sponsors?" "Man, I got it covered." And he's like, "Oh, I got all my contacts. I'll email everybody." So he basically handles all of our national sponsors, and I don't have to do any of that stuff. So that's kind of back to the fact that if you don't have a good help, like a lot of people to help that are willing to help and want to help, you wouldn't be able to do it. I'm sure William has a big support staff that we don't know about. We might know about his girlfriend or a fiance, know about a couple of the people that work, but we don't know about all the other people behind the scenes. But every year I go, I meet someone else. Like Lonnie, he runs Volusia BrewDubs. And Lonnie, really cool guy. Now he gets to do his dubs by the river thing. So you've got this whole conglomeration of people, that are willing to hang out that weekend. And every year they got to put that on the calendar. No weekend. I guess I'll be doing that.
Right.
I actually told my wife. I told Holly. I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to go to No every year."
Now
I can't miss it because I run the show now.
Yeah, you're part of the.
Sorry, we don't have any choice but to go.
That's cool. Well, that's great. I mean, it's nice that if you can do like little things like the Vanagon show, or just different shows in other shows, make them bigger, draw more people. Like you said, maybe a Vanagon crew might not have been going to No, but now, you just put a Vanagon show out there?
Right.
All right, now they're going to go to the Vanagon show, and then they're going to experience the other shows, the main shows, like on Sunday.
That's exactly right.
Different things like that.
Well, Vanagon guys, a lot of them like to travel longer distances. So if you can continue to do that, you might get people coming to No, and then they come there and they go, "Oh, you guys at Bugs of the Bayou sponsored that. What's that all about?" And you're like, "Here, we got free camping." Next thing, you got a whole crew of Vanagons coming. So yeah, it's just one big happy family,
Yeah.
kind of just keeping everybody together.
Yeah, it's all networking, different shows, everyone checking out more shows, and that's the thing. Like, when Ange and I, before we got together, I wasn't going to many shows. 10 years ago, I would only go to like Bug Jam and maybe a show at Quaker Steak Fest.
Oh yeah.
And then we started going to different things and hanging out with more people. I've known Dan Kilbride for years. I've known him before and some of the other guys in the area, but then we start going to shows, then we start talking to people again. No, this show's going, this show, so we've been dabbling more into.
You get hooked.
Yeah, you start
when you get hooked on the people.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the
that's
people.
what it is for us.
Yeah.
I mean, today was a good example of that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're going to go down and actually do it live, get to see our friends, hang out.
Yeah.
They do a podcast at the same time.
Yeah, I know.
And then an hour before I get here, Dan hits me up. Hey, come by the house. And hang out for a minute. We want to see you, since you're in town.
Yeah.
And I've been part of a lot of car communities before Volkswagens, and there's just nothing like ours.
We talked about that too, because Daniel's at the C10.
Oh yeah, nice
and
truck.
a very beautiful truck. But like I said, there's only certain. They don't really get together much. He's trying to put, hey guys, let's do Cars and Coffee kind of thing. Let's do this. Let's do some meets, and it doesn't seem to be there. Or Volkswagens. I mean, down here every Thursday, everyone's at the Causeway. Every Saturday, Sunday, there's usually a coffee meet.
Oh yeah.
Or there's something.
Yeah, Southsiders does a once a week.
Yeah, Southsiders.
When I hear like that, you guys can get people to do once a week.
Yeah.
That blows me away.
Yeah.
Because we do it once a month, and we have a good turnout, like 30 to 40 cars.
Right.
But if we did once a week, we wouldn't have that many people. We just wouldn't. So the fact that people will support once a week is awesome.
Yeah, and I think what helps with that too, because like in Pinellas County, there's a bigger scene, but we try to bring the coffee meets in every different areas. But it just depends on who's going to go out, what they have planned. He's putting on stuff in the Hernando County, which is great.
Yeah.
Dubs, and
I'm actually going to go tonight to check out their putt-putt event.
Yeah.
I'm going to surprise him. He doesn't know I'm in town.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm just going to pop over and be like, what up?
That's going to be cool. He's going to be impressed. So we're not going to post this before that.
Yeah, right.
So that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, and it's nice that he's doing stuff out in Hernando County, where Filthy Buggers does stuff there too. But it's nice to have another entity out there trying to promote more shows, get more people out there. And it's nice to have the options. But that's what it's all about, getting everyone out there. It's hot right now, so we're kind of doing stuff at night or in the morning, go off for a few hours and head back home and park the car kind of thing.
Yeah, and then when fall comes,
then it's full blast.
Yeah, it's wide open.
The cars run good, you don't need AC.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let's see. You guys get together and wrench on things, which you guys do. I guess that's Wild Bill's.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, like, the foundation, really, I would say, of the Pensacola scene has always been what they call Tech Session.
Yep.
They do it at the first Saturday of every month, like clockwork. There is times when we move it to a different part of the month if there's something going on, like, Bugs on the Bayou. Yeah. We move it to the second or the third week that month because I'm on the first Saturday. Yeah. But it's generally always the first Saturday. It's hosted most of the time at Don Duro's house. Don is one of our staples. He has a shop with lift, all the specialty tools for Volkswagens, and everybody's allowed to come there and work on their cars. And they'll show everybody how to do stuff. We have a sign-up sheet when you arrive and you're somebody new and you have a certain thing you want to do. You go over, you put on the sign-up sheet, I want to adjust my brakes. I want to fix my carburetors, whatever you want to do. And then they'll get you with somebody that's good at that. Cool. And then that you can learn, and maybe next time you can do it yourself, Yeah. A couple weekends ago, we had a guy that wanted to pull his front beam all the way out of his Bug and put a new beam in. They did it at Tech Session, like 2 hours, out, done. So to me, it's unique. There's not that many clubs that do something like that. Correct. Yeah. There is more that are seeing us and seeing other groups do it, and going, oh wow, that's something we need to do. There's a group in Alabama, Vulcan Volks. Okay. It's actually Adam Simpson we talked about earlier that runs Volks Jam, and Richard Hill, who he has a big nice shop up there, and they're opening. We're actually doing it. I think it's today, as a matter of fact. Okay. And they're barbecuing and hanging out and doing it, starting a tech session every month. Very cool. So, but it's a good resource, because the one thing that stops people from staying in Volkswagens is because they don't necessarily know how to work on it. Right. They might have bought it because their aunt had one and whatever reason, like that they had a passion for it, but they don't really know how to work on it. Well, if they don't learn how to, the first time it breaks down, they're like, I'm going to sell this thing. Yeah. Where if they've got somebody locally, a club that will be like, hey, come over here, we'll show you how to fix it. Right. They're more likely to stay in it. Yeah. I know when I first got my Sandrail, my first Volkswagen, I met some of those guys. We have a couple local cruises that are every weekend, like they're all cars, hot rods and all different stuff. And the Volkswagen crew would come out there, and I came and I met a few of them the first night, and they're like, oh, we can tune those cars. Come over next week and hang out, and we'll tune them for you. It's like, wow, this is cool. I've never had car guys be this cool.
Yeah.
And so the next thing you know, like years later now, 15 years later, like full-fledged into it.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, the tech session is an amazing thing. I encourage every club to try to do it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. The Volkswagen car seems very unique. Everyone seems to be helpful, air-cooled especially.
Yes.
You know, and there's always someone, if we break down, we're doing these trips, it seems like when we reach out to you or, you know, Bay Pride, you know, you guys got us, within seconds, you guys got us in touch with somebody, you know, so it's just like, it is nice to have someone that would teach you. You bring a vehicle in, oh, come on in. You have tech sessions, they'll teach you how to work on stuff. That's really, that's a really nice thing.
Well, and I think we're going to be adding, I've been talking to them about trying to add, so we'll do their tech session, and then on that day, there'll be a specialty. So today, we're going to do tech session, and we're going to do a 30-minute class on how to adjust your valves.
Cool.
Or, you know, if you have dual carbs, this is the way to do your dual carb tuning.
Okay.
And do little classes. It's actually... We've actually considered adding something like that to Bugs on the Bayou, where throughout the weekend we'll do a couple little classes.
Oh, cool.
You know, like Jason Phillips. I consider him like the carb guru. That dude, he's like a mad scientist with carbs.
Yeah.
And I would like to get him, like, you know, do an hour session. Like, hey, we're going to show people how to do basic carb tuning. Okay. And then you could do that. So, yeah, that kind of stuff is just, it's invaluable. Because that's really how you keep the hobby alive, is keep the cars alive.
Exactly.
You know, without that, eventually you were talking about earlier about an 80-year-old guy that did your transmission, a guy that did your engine and stuff. Well, when they're gone, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
You know, so we've got to make sure we're passing that along to the next person and the next person,
right?
So that it can get taught to the next generation. You know,
right?
And like we were talking about earlier about getting the water-cooled guys, some of the young guys, like in their 20s. Well, they start to show up to tech session just to hang out. You don't have to work on their cars much.
Yeah.
But they come and hang out, and the next thing you know, they're like, oh, maybe I need to buy a bug.
Yeah.
You know? So it's kind of, it becomes full circle doing the tech session.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great. That is a great, it's a great community. Like I said, when we went up there, everyone's so friendly. Everyone's so welcoming up there. You got everyone from all the Gulf Coast, Mississippi, you know.
Oh, you met some of the best people too.
Yeah,
right?
they were very great people.
Yeah, New Orleans is great, man. Yeah. And I know you guys got to meet the Cornettes, the Camperman Coffee.
Yeah.
I promote you guys, Camperman Coffee.
They gave us some coffee.
Go get some
coffee here. We've been drinking.
Yeah.
And decaf. I drink decaf.
That's true.
Swiss water process. That's a very difficult process. No chemicals. It's the way to have decaf, and they do it. And great coffee.
Yeah, they're just,
we have it in the fridge. Yeah, we already.
They're amazing people, man. Too. Like
they are. Very
you know, there's certain people you meet. You guys are like that too. Like you meet them and they just have a certain vibe.
Yeah,
they're that way. Just I love being around them. Like it puts me in a better mood to be around them.
Right.
And I think that's cool to find.
Yeah,
you know?
they're great. They're great people and very welcoming too. And he's John. He's built some engines too.
Yeah, so, John knows his stuff.
Yeah, he seems pretty tech savvy too.
Well, they have the. Have you seen their travel van? The Dodge. They have the big Dodge van.
Yeah, with the top on it too.
Yeah, and it's got the cool, like he did the painting with the Rhino liner, with the trees and stuff on the side, or the mountains on the side.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's part of the community. You know that Mississippi. I think we talked about earlier, like New Orleans to Pensacola.
Yeah.
We're all really close. Yeah. So you know, anytime there's a show or a camp out on the Panhandle, you get to see those people.
Yeah.
You know? And you get to catch up. Like, hey, what's been going on the last few months since I didn't see you? You know. And that's a big deal for us.
Yeah.
You know.
It's great that the community, like we experienced it up there too. Going out west, there's barn doors and stuff like that out there, but we're in a bay window and they're still hanging out with us talking, saying, hey,
right.
All friendly. You think like maybe the split bus would stick with themselves, but not like that at all.
Yeah, we all mingle.
Yeah, everyone's mingling.
Volkswagen people mingle.
It seems like it's really cool, which is nice. So no one feels like oh, I'm not good enough,
Yeah, split bus snobs.
Yeah, right.
None of those, right?
No, so that's
like
cool.
The Corvette Club.
Like the Corvette Club or something like that. Only Corvettes. Like you said, bringing the community together, right? Water cooled, air cooled, bringing the Vanagons. Let something. Why have a show for Vanagons?
Yeah,
like,
and
like, oh, cool.
We even have a nickname.
Vanagoons.
Yeah, I've seen other people use that on the internet. And I'm like, I like that.
That's cool.
Vanagoons.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I just think that's a great idea. I'm just happy that you can put that together.
Yeah, I'm excited.
For another Vanagon show. We tagged a friend of ours, Tom and Sintra, our buddies Helder, Fred, Tom and Sintra. We tagged them. I think Tomas made a comment.
Yeah, he said all these years I've been wondering why nobody does a Vanagon show.
Yeah, I know. So now
now there is.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool thing. Like there's going to be a Vanagon show. Like you know, and some people are only Vanagons. They like Vanagons, and I think Helder only has Vanagons. I thought he had 2 of them, but it's just some people are only in certain
Yeah,
things.
well, one of the unique things that I've learned so far about Vanagons is there's so many different power plants for Vanagons.
Yes.
You know, you have Aircooled, the early ones. You have the water-cooled factory.
Yep.
And now the conversions, there's tons. So I personally in Pensacola have friends. One, Don Duro has a Ford EcoTech.
Okay, yep.
2.2 or whatever in his. Shannon Brooks, another friend of mine that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
He has a Jetta diesel in his.
Nice.
And then, of course, I have a Subaru. And now we have another guy that's doing a Subaru conversion. And then another friend of ours, John Dawson, has a 2.5 Subaru just like mine. So it's like you pull a bunch of Vanagons up together, you got to pop the lid to see what's in there.
What are you running?
And so that's really unique about Vanagons for sure. You know, where with bugs, 99% of bugs are going to have a Type 1 motor.
Yeah.
Unless they might have a Subaru swap done, but that's essentially it's very rare.
Yeah.
You know, so that's something cool, about us that's a little bit different. You just never know what they're going to have.
Right. So I see a lot of Subaru swaps in something like the Type 3s, the Vanagons, because, you want reliability. When you're going cross country, you're in a camper usually, something like that too. So
definitely.
So, but I was at Busted by the Bridge and I saw one of the Ecotechs and it was a Vanagon, like you just said, and I haven't seen that before.
Well, one of the reasons that I figured out, Don was telling me this, I didn't know, but you can buy those engines used in junkyards for like $500, $600.
Nice.
So if you blow a motor, you just go to the junkyard and get another $500 one and throw it in there.
Yeah.
But the conversion is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
I think the conversion kit and all the stuff it takes to do is around $7,000 to $8,000.
Okay.
So, but then once you get that initial investment, then after that, motors are cheap.
Yeah. Is that the stock transmission you're running?
Yeah, Vanagon transmission. Yeah, mine has a stock Vanagon transmission. It has been built out at German Transaxle in Bend, Oregon. They do nothing but transaxle work out there, and they did what they call a turbo kit for theirs. It's basically an upgrade for the internals, so it is a little bit tougher because you're looking at like 100 or 125 more horsepower than what you would have had out of a water cooled one.
Right.
And then mine has a big cooling setup on it with the cooling fans and a radiator in the front and everything to cool the trans.
Yeah.
Mine is an automatic, which you don't see as much.
Okay.
There's a lot of people running the 090, which is the 4-speed that came in the Vanagons mounted up to it.
Okay.
And then you're also seeing what they call reverse-a-roo, which is a reverse kit. It makes the automatic transmission where you can run the engine in the back but run a Subaru transmission. So you're seeing those now too. Those are kind of I'd say a newer thing. They were here for a while, and then now they've kind of redefined them and made them better.
Okay.
They were having some mechanical issues with them, and now they're supposed to be like bulletproof, and you just throw basically a whole setup out of any Subaru right in there.
No kidding. That's cool. And the power's got to be...
Oh, yeah. It's amazing.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, you don't worry about pulling out traffic.
yeah. You can actually do it. That's what's really cool.
Yeah.
Derek, I greatly appreciate you being here and
Thank you.
sitting down with me.
I appreciate it a lot.
I wanted to do this in the garage, but just as you know, it's so hot. It's just
it's full of projects.
It's full of projects. Yeah, that's true too. But I wanted to do a shout out because Derek finally got a YouTube channel. He's promoting shows and he's got a YouTube channel.
Well, I started an account, so I don't officially have anything to promote on it yet. But I did start an account. So coming soon.
Coming soon.
Yeah, Pensacola VW happenings. For people that don't know, that's my local group that I run in Pensacola. That's kind of how this all came about.
Yep.
You know.
And you have a Facebook page too?
I do. Yeah. Of course, Derek Henry on Facebook, and then Bugs on the Bayou on Facebook.
Bugs on the Bayou.
And then Pensacola VW happenings on Facebook.
Pensacola VW happenings. So guys,
we have a big Facebook presence.
Yeah. And they do. This is a great show. So guys, you got to check that out. It was a very good show and great camping spot. Bugs on the Bayou. This last year, May, was our first time, and it's not going to be our last. We're going to be there next year too.
The show under the oaks.
The show under the oaks.
Yeah.
It truly is very nice. Shade. First weekend in May. Good people. And all the events that you're going to be putting on.
So we have the Bugs on the Bayou 11. That's the event page for it. So you can find that on Facebook as well. And we're already promoting it, and it has a full itinerary for everything that's all scheduled for the weekend. And you have the options. You can either do an event all weekend and find something to do, or you can just camp and chill.
So that's a great time. We had a great time.
Appreciate you having me on, man. It's awesome.
I appreciate you coming.
It's been awesome meeting you guys.
Yeah,
really has been today.
Guys, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.